In a move that seems to penalise the early adopters, Nissan has announced they'll be shutting down the 2G app that current Leaf owners use to control some features on their EVs from April 2024, 2 months from now. I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On Nissan really hammering those who helped it become a successful EV manufacturer. And did you know it will also happen to you in your Hyundai Kona or Mercedes EQA or BMW iX4? Yeah, 2G and 3G networks are already scheduled to shut down in the UK. Keep watching to find out what's going on and how it will affect you. But just a message now before all you ICE owners fall about laughing and claim, oh, this is the end of EVs as we know it. Just realise that your ICE car is also, if it's able to connect to the mobile phone, either hands-free or connects offering Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, or uses Google Maps or any sat-nav, you too are affected. Yeah, your ICE car will one day shut down also. It's not just its EV owners. Okay, let's first get rid of the hype. The Nissan Leaf EV will not be directly affected by this announcement. Not yet. This specific announcement affects the mobile app that the drivers use to turn on the preheater for the car or set for the timer for the cheap charging rate. And it also includes several other features. In the Leaf is a chip that communicates with the app via the 2G network. And that 2G network is due to shut down by the end of the decade, 2030. And this initially only affects Nissan Leafs built before 2016, because after that they installed a 3G chip. So the first statement, your Leaf will not stop driving this year. See, all EVs are mobile connected. And the mobile network is going through a constant refresh. New technology arrives at an ever faster pace, replacing what we thought was the best already. Even when replaced, the manufacturers will normally carry on supporting the older technology beyond the date it is superseded, but only up to a certain point. Well, Microsoft Windows 3.1 is a classic example. Support for that ended in December 2001. It did not mean that computers operating on 3.1 stopped working, merely that tech support and driver updates were no longer available. If you have an older computer running Windows 3.1, there's a good chance it might still work. Well, the reason for dropping support is it becomes ever more expensive and affects fewer and fewer computers. It also is because the old version can no longer do what the newer version now does. Again, think computers. Newer versions come out that are better only to be replaced themselves just a few years later. Do you remember Windows 95 replaced Windows 3.1? 3 years later we got Windows 98, then Windows 2000, ME, XP, Vista. The list is almost endless. And many of these are still in use even though they are no longer supported. Now, other devices will simply stop working. See, Amazon announced in July 2021 that early Kindle ebooks will stop being able to download over 2G and 3G networks after July of that year. Now, I know a £70 Kindle is not a £30,000 EV, but this is technology. It moves on. What Nissan is doing is not unique. Oh, and are you aware that your iPhone 13 that you bought new just a few years ago is likely to lose support as early as 2027? Or that the Google Pixel 5 has already lost that support? See, I use a Pixel 5 for some photography and videos as a backup camera to my backup cameras in case all else fails. I no longer use it as a phone or on the mobile network and not on the internet, but only as a camera and storage. It works fine and probably will for many years yet, just not as a phone. Now, for many of us, the loss of support is not a reason to get rid of a phone, computer or an EV. They will all continue to work as they were originally designed. However, they will no longer be kept up to date and, far more importantly, they might lose security updates. And that could be critical. Most of us trade in or replace what we had because we want something newer and better. Once again, mobile phones are a great example. When 5G first arrived, very few of us could access it. Very few of us were willing to or able to ditch a perfectly good 4G smartphone. But over time, not only is the extra download speed looking more and more attractive, but many newer apps need that speed to work at their best. Some of them don't work at all any longer on 4G speeds. So the Nissan Leaf is likely to continue driving for many years yet. What has surprised EV owners is that the 2G networks generally are not due to shut down until 2030. That's 6 years away. What also shocks EV drivers is that 2G and 3G networks in the UK are scheduled to shut down at around the same time. Yeah, in the UK. And for some, this time, the shutdown will result in some products stopping altogether. Well, I've already mentioned the Kindle e-reader that is no longer able to download e-books at all, some early models, but it's relatively cheap to replace with a newer model. But are there products that will also shut down, and will your EV? Well, yes is the simple answer, but probably not is the next answer. So for a device like a mobile phone or Kindle, the loss of use is not that critical. If your EV shuts down, that's a very different issue. Many smartphones will shut down. Yeah, one day your 3G smartphone will simply stop working altogether. As will many smart meters that the utility companies rely on for their readings and billing. And your EV could also shut down one day. But here, the manufacturer is likely to come to the rescue, as long as they're still in business, simply because of the value of the product. Now, my own Tesla Model S will one day be affected, as the main display operates on the original 3G network, which was still hugely popular back in 2015-2016 when it was built. Well, 4G arrived here in the UK at the end of 2012, but it was quite slow to catch on in a big way. So will my Model S shut down too? Well, I've already checked. If I still own my Model S when 3G is turned off in about 5 or 8, 10 years' time, Tesla already have an upgrade. It's available today, chargeable of course, to switch it out for a 4G one. So while I would be forced to upgrade one day, I would get much better and faster features in return. And indeed, many Model S owners have already done this upgrade voluntarily. I have actually been tempted myself several times. Well, good news is my Model S will keep going for very many years to come. However, I am not so confident that all EV manufacturers are aware of the problem, nor that they have or will have a solution so that your EV does not simply refuse to operate one day. This is an ongoing issue that needs to be highlighted. I am confident that someone somewhere will start to offer an independent retrofit solution if it does look like the EV manufacturer either is not still in business or, worse still, is in business but has got no plan of its own. So in the meantime, the scheduled shutdown date of 2G and 3G in the UK is 2033. So we have another 9 years, if that date is adhered to, before it might become a problem. And the average ownership of a car in the UK is just 6 years. So the car you are driving today is very unlikely to give you any issue for any of the time that you own it. Well, thanks very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please click the like button. And if you would, please subscribe. It makes such a difference to us as a new channel. If you click the bell icon, the notification, you'll be notified the next time we launch a video. And a massive, massive, massive thank you, last but not least, to our Patreon members. This side of the business is growing dramatically. We've had our most successful month ever, and thank you so much for your support for the channel. I'm Dave.